Just coming off my 5th failed attempt at quitting, any advice? Ex-smokers of Reddit, what actually worked to get you to successfully stop smoking? Vaping. I haven't smoked since August and I don't miss it. And this is after a 30-year habit. My girlfriend informed me that I was quitting poverty. In my early 20s I hit a rough patch and I had to choose smoking or eating. Electronic cig, I'm still using it but am now down to no nicotine in it. I haven't had a cig in almost 3 years. I read a free PDF copy of the book The Easy Way to Quit Smoking. My wife getting pregnant. I really just needed to truly want to quit. If you go into quitting while expecting to put up a fight, you'll win the fight. Chantix and a personal commitment. Have to do it for you, not for someone else. Brushing my teeth, a lot. Made me taste the yuck. Naturally I grew uncomfortable with it. Running. I guess any aerobic exercising would do that. Chantix is amazing and effective. Me and my wife quit at the same time and nobody wanted to be the one to start back first. Sunflower seeds, man. Those little freakers work. Quitting cigarettes is easy. Just start smoking cigars instead. I didn't say it was perfect. Getting diagnosed with colon cancer. I worked as smoking cessation counselor back in the day. Some things to keep in mind. Most people attempt to quit 7 to 9 times before being successful, defined as at least 6 months without smoking. Having failed at quitting several times is actually good. It means you're on the right track of working out when and how to quit. There are 2 aspects to smoking, behavioral and physical. You can treat the physical with nicotine gum, patches, or gradually reducing your smoke intake before a quit day. Behavioral also requires strategy. Find something you can do when you want to smoke. Whenever and however you can change your habits is a big help. In the end, it all comes down to gutting it out. There are some tips and tricks that make it a little easier, but it's 99% guts. I can't speak for myself, so I'll tell my dad's story. He smoked for most of his life, and had a heart attack. The doctors advised him to quit, and he tried, he really did. Patches didn't work. Gum didn't work. So, he always went back to smoking. Until he needed a heart bypass operation. He had a meeting with the surgeon who told him, if you don't stop smoking completely in 3 months' time I will not do the operation. If you don't have this operation you will not live to see your son grow up. You probably won't see Christmas. Worked a treat for him. As I recall, research suggests that gum, patches, etc. all feed the craving, and the most successful quitters were those who went cold turkey. I could probably find a source for that if necessary. Here are some things that I went through to help me, wrapped up as advice. First, get comfortable with the idea of being a non-smoker. Spend some time imagining what it will be like to stop smoking. Daydream about it. Practice turning down cigarettes in your mind. Let it be what you think about in the shower and as you drift to sleep at night. Avoid places where you went to smoke. That means changes in your life a while. Plan 6 months or a year. Smoking areas are off limits to you just like bars are off limits to an alcoholic. Commit to being a non-smoker. Decide that you're going to become that daydream that you're having. That doesn't mean throwing down your pack and trying to see if your will or the drug is stronger. It means knowing balls to bones that this is what you're going to do. I knew I had to quit. My young son was getting older and was very aware. I kept putting it off because smokers are great at that. Then one day my 2-year-old picked someone's grubby old butt up off the ground, put it in his mouth and said, "Look daddy, I'm smoking too." Heartbreaking. I quit cold turkey the next day. So, the moral of my story is that having a really great reason to quit smoking that means a lot to you is important. Fell in love with a girl who didn't smoke. Simple as that. I got self-conscious about my breath and teeth and the smell of my clothes. I wanted her to want to kiss me all the time. That, and she never pressured me to quit. She just said, smoke or don't smoke, but quit acting like you want to stop and then buying more. Sometimes, I still have one when I'm really stressed. Finals week, etc. It's easy to stop there when you don't want to be a smoker anymore. I barely enjoy them now. I've been using e-cigs for a bit now. I started off with the equivalent nicotine mgs as what I was smoking a day. Once I run out of the vape juice I go in for a new bottle and decrease the nicotine level by 2. I'm now almost completely independent of nicotine. I've had a few cigs here and there and I can honestly say I prefer the taste of the vape over the cigs now. Be strong and good luck. I haven't smoked a cigarette in over a year. I was a pack-a-day smoker for around 15 years. I quit cold turkey using the book Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Someone posted it to Reddit late one night and I decided freak it can't hurt to read it. You are told to smoke at different points throughout the book and then have one last cigarette after you finish the whole book. Well, that last cigarette happened to coincide with the last in my pack, and the next morning I just wasn't motivated to buy another pack, and I haven't since. For me, the most important thing was to understand that smoking a cigarette does not help with any problem I have, nor does it make any moment any more special than it already is. For example, if I'm stressed, the smoker me wanted to have a smoke and thought that it is more difficult to deal with stress after having a smoke. The non-smoking me understands that the only way to deal with stress is to find the real cause for it and do something about that reason. Smokers tend to give cigarettes more value than they actually have. Mostly it is the ritual, the smoking break, having something to do with your hands, going outside for 5 minutes that helps, not the cigar. Also, I ate a tiny bit of nicotine gum blended with normal sugar-free gum for the worst moments. I ate in total about 20 pieces. I had some cravings for salt liquor ice at the time, maybe the taste is a bit similar. For me it helped. It isn't just nicotine addiction that comes along with smoking, it's habits. Routines. I would have a cigarette before class, during breaks, and after class. I'd have a cigarette after a big meal, with my morning coffee, etc. Start breaking these habits. I would first stop smoking when I was going to, from class. Then gradually break more of these habits as you go along. I also started running to aid in the inevitable weight gain. It's also gratifying when you can run for a half hour straight without dying from the lack of breath. I hope this helps. I honestly never thought I'd be able to quit, and it's been over 6 months now. You can do it. 2 things, an e-cigarette and actually wanting to quit. I couldn't have done it cold turkey. I'd tried a couple of times, but using the e-cig for a few months worked very well. I ended up using it less and less as time went on, and finally stopped altogether. Complete change of environment and habits. I quit my job. By doing so, I had the chance to change my entire daily schedule. With no habitual smoking breaks, I dropped it without a problem. It was really just a habit, not the addiction for me. Straight up force of will. I smoked since I was a fetus pretty much. I looked at my little daughter. I decided I'd much rather be there to see her grow up. You have to want it. I started smoking at age 13 and stopped smoking at age 42. I am 46 years old and haven't had one in 4 years. I got to a point where I knew in my mind that smoking was going to one day kill me quicker than I wanted to die. You got to just want to quit, period. It really is mind over matter, and once you get over that hump, there's no going back. Stop trying to quit if you really don't want to quit. If you do want to quit, stop being a pussy and do it, and I mean that in a good way. I met my wife on an online game and lied telling her I was a non-smoker. We became inseparable there, and the relationship progressed to a real-life meeting. I had to keep up the image, so I used nicotine lozenges to get me through that. Once it became evident that what we felt online matched in real life, I quit and never looked back. Married now for 5 years, and those were the best 2 choices I've ever made. I was 45 when I met her and had smoked since I was 17. I read Alan Carr's book about quitting. The argument that did it for me was that smoking doesn't really make you feel better, it just makes you feel worse when you're not smoking, and then when you smoke you get to feel as good as a non-smoker feels all the time. I only quit when I got really sick from bronchitis and literally couldn't smoke a single cigarette for a week. After that I just kept up with it. The cravings don't totally go away though. I still have them, especially when I drink. When my desire to smoke a cigarette was less than driving out in the middle of a tropical storm to get another pack. Then I realized how much I didn't want a cigarette after the storm cleared. Having a heart attack at age 28. I had 2 packs on me and gave them to the EMTs. It helped to have a week off of work too. I couldn't function for a few days with the withdrawal. Getting pregnant. This obviously is also an expensive habit though. I quit cold turkey after smoking for 12 years and never touched them again. I smoked for years and tried a lot of methods to quit, such as patches, gum, e-cigs, etc. The only option for me was to quit cold turkey. It requires willpower, but it was the best way for me. I decided I wanted to quit. Edited. I would just like to say thank you to everybody who understands and all of the super duper support. I thought my comment sounded bitchy after I thought about it, but after the overwhelming response, I'd like to tell everybody that you've all done a super job. Even if you haven't fully quit, taking the step, even if you step back, is very important. Over time, you learn you don't need cigarettes. You want them. And ultimately you have to decide which you want more. To smoke, or not to smoke. That is the question. You know that Reddit meme, you have no power here. Think of that when you get a craving. It's been 4 years, I'll be in my 5th in February. You have to understand that life is going to keep sucking even if you're not smoking. The stress at work won't go away, the frustration in traffic will never stop. Using these excuses is just prolonging your progress. I quit while living with, and associating with everybody around me being a smoker. My fiancé is a smoker. As long as you keep deciding, I don't want a cigarette, then eventually you won't want a cigarette.